Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mickisha. If it's your first time here, please go ahead and subscribe to my channel, okay? Hit the notification bell as well so you get all the alerts when I upload new videos. As you guys can see from the title, this video is just addressing colorism in Trinidad and Tobago. Point blank, period. Yes, I know there's colorism all over the world, but I'm addressing specifically colorism in Trinidad and Tobago and my experience, as well as my older sister's experience, Danna's experience with colorism as well. So that's just a bit of background for the video. A little bit of background for myself. If it's your first time on my channel, you just came across this video. Once again, my name is Mickisha. I am Trinidadian. I was born in Trinidad and Tobago. I left Trinidad at the age of 9. My oldest sister Danna is 2.5 years older than myself, and we left Trinidad at the same time. She was 12 and I was 9. So just to give you guys a bit of a background on us, we go back home all the time. Trinidad is always home for us. My mom was born in Trinidad and my dad was born in Tobago, and my dad raised us in Trinidad. That's just a little gist of who we are, the perspective that we're coming at this from, just so you guys are aware. This is an open discussion between my sister and myself. You guys are more than welcome to join in the comments below. Let's keep it respectful. Share whatever stories that you guys have, experiences that you guys have personally experienced with colorism as well. So let's jump right into this video. So Danna.
Hi guys, how you guys doing today? I hope you guys are having a great day. It's gonna get a little touchy, okay? We don't want to offend anyone.
Okay, and just quickly, so like I said, I was born in Trinidad, moved to New York at the age of 9. I now live in South Florida, and Danna still lives in New York. So I've been in South Florida for the past 5 years, hence why we're doing this video this way. And not in person together. Also, this coronavirus time, so we all know how that goes. Nobody wants to be on an airplane right now anyway. So just to give you guys a background on why we are set up the way we are set up. So we're just going to be going back and forth within each other, just a conversation. So Danna, what's your first memory of colorism?
My first memory of colorism is hearing things like, oh, you're pretty for a dark-skinned girl. Oh, even hearing like some people saying to me like, oh, you know, you look really nice if you were a little bit lighter. Like doing like the hand thing, like, oh, I'm lighter than you, I'm darker than you, as kids growing up, you know, like, oh, she is black like tar or black like tulum. That's something that you would hear. You would hear sometimes people from Trinidad referring to people that are from Tobago as, oh, black Tobagonian bun bake. That was a term that I've heard as a kid. Just things like that. You know, the whole hair texture thing. Oh, this person has really nice hair, you know, so this person is more beautiful aesthetically. But the person with more kinkier hair is, oh, her hair is ugly. We don't know what to do with her hair, and we're going to just give her a perm or press it and then deal with it later.
So I'm gonna stop you right there. So that's Danna's experience, but just hearing her talk about it just brings back freaking memories. Like someone would tell me, oh, the inner side of your hand is lighter, so if you go to America, that's the color that you're gonna be, as if that's something that you need to aspire to be, lighter. Danna mentioned the hair and not knowing what to do with hair. Like, our dad was a single dad, so of course he couldn't comb my hair himself. So he would hire people in the neighborhood, neighbors, to braid our hair, you know, in cornrows for the week. And we will have people that's being paid to do our hair, and they will say things like, "Oh, her hair is so hard," or compare our hair textures against each other. So I just had to insert that. Go ahead, Donna. What else do you remember from childhood?
That people more than likely would say things like, "Oh, my great grandparent is from," I'm not gonna say any place, but wherever that place is, maybe people might be a little bit lighter or have, different features. So people would want to put that out there. So it's kind of like, "Oh, I'm better than you because where my grandparents is from, or my hair texture might be like this," or just
Yeah,
doing
it's
things
kind
like
of
that.
it's kind of a way to like disregard your African heritage. There was a video that came out, I would say within the last 2 to 3 weeks, where this East Indian lady was basically against the Black Lives Matter movement in the US. A lot of Trinidadians also had the same point of view as her, as, "Oh, Trinidad doesn't have the same racist issues like America has." And I beg to differ to a certain extent. But the two main ethnicities in Trinidad and Tobago is African and East Indian. Those are the two main ones. So Trinidad and Tobago's population now stands about 1.3 million. To me, when you search Trinidad and Tobago, or if we're talking to someone, they'll say, "Oh, how are you from Trinidad? You don't look Trinidadian." Like, Trinidadian has a look, you know? But I can't blame anyone that has that mindset about Trinidad and Tobago because of colorism, because of what ethnicity is shown. Okay, when you Google Trinidad and Tobago, or you look at Carnival, you don't see a lot of African people. And you guys know, you might not know, but I had a travel group this year. Sorry, I had a travel group this year for Trinidad's Carnival. And I had a couple of my participants ask me and tell me, "Oh, I didn't know that Trinidad had so many African people," because of what the media portrays, what we put out there, what the people with the power and the money put out, what pictures are used for advertisement, for tourism and things like that. It's not an African person, so I can't really blame people for having that type of outlook on what the population of Trinidad and Tobago is supposed to look like. But yeah, go ahead, Donna.
Yeah. Sometimes, like, looking back at just certain events, like if you go to Trinidad for Carnival, right, and you look at some of the videos that is shown online for some of the more expensive parties, you see one look, lighter skinned person. Even some of the bands that you might want to play mass with, right? There was one band in particular, I'm not going to mention the name. Before you could even sign up for this particular band, they want to see a picture of you.
So true.
Right? Granted, this is your business. I can choose to spend my money here, or I can choose to spend my money somewhere else. But, I mean, for someone that might be younger and not have like a strong mindset, might look at something like that and say to themselves, "What is wrong with me? Right? Is my skin so bad that I can't, whatever, like I can't be a part of this band?" And it's not even just, they might say, "You know what, we want a particular size of woman, or we want a particular," they just want a look. So when you play mass in this particular band, most of them look a particular way. And I think there's a bunch of bands like that. And there's a bunch of bands, if you look on their small clip on, let's say, Instagram, right, of people on the road, you might see one or two token black girls, but I'll tell you this, whatever black girl you see, she has to be snatched for the gods.
Some employers are against natural hair, so they view natural hair as bad. I know some people of African descent that wouldn't put that they're African on their applications, or of African descent or black on their job applications, because they have a higher chance of getting the job if they put a different race on there. I've heard people say, well, if you move back to my friends, like if you move back home to Trinidad, you're going to get a job so easily. And this is someone speaking to someone that's of a lighter skin tone, black but light skin. You will get a job so easily, you know what I mean, because you have your skin is light, you know. But best to believe, if there's a light skinned person, a dark skinned person going for the same position, the light skinned person has a higher chance of getting that job over the dark skinned person. Everybody knows, but people just don't talk about it or acknowledge it. So, and even like in like the first time that we played mass in Trinidad for Carnival, we noticed it. You know what I mean? We noticed what Donna was referring to earlier by saying the bands will have a certain aesthetic that they want shown. Even though this band had a huge majority of black people in the band, this band will still, you won't get a picture. The photographers will bypass you. Okay? There was a influencer that spoke on this, I think of like last month when everything was really jumping off. And he even said a lot of promoters will direct the photographers and videographers not to capture certain looks. So it's known, okay? It's a known issue. And just like racism in the US is known and people just act like it doesn't exist or it was long ago, it was long time. No, this is still happening in Trinidad right now. Trinidad and Tobago needs to acknowledge that racism and colorism and classism still exists in Trinidad and Tobago to date. I will say that Trinidad and Tobago is paradise. I'll say that. It's paradise. But yes, there's, with like everywhere else, there's poverty. And there's the working poor. There's CPEP jobs. But the minimum wage in Trinidad and Tobago is not a livable wage. But it's better compared to some of the other islands. Which is not to say much, because I believe that everyone should have a livable wage. But let me continue. So there's a demographic in Trinidad and Tobago called the 1%. Donna, you want to elaborate?
So they're about, I would say, about 5 to 10,000 people, right? Group and family. And they call the shots in Trinidad. So they own most of the businesses in Trinidad, that the Carrot, the Stag, the White Oak. A lot of these companies are owned by Syrians. A lot of these big supermarkets, KFC, Wendy's,
franchise restaurants.
All these franchise restaurants are owned by Syrians, right? So they call the shots, and they're only 5 to 10,000 of them. A 1% that call the shots decide what you might get paid for your first little fast food job, right? Meanwhile, they're making millions of dollars. Not to say that this doesn't happen in other parts of the world, but I've never really seen anyone stand up and say, you know what? Let's make a massive protest, because this is not a livable wage, right? And the demographic of people that work in these establishments is mostly people of African descent.
To go a little bit further, Anthony Bourdain did a special in Trinidad and Tobago a few years ago. But he did a special, okay, highlighting the different foods and culture of Trinidad and Tobago. And he interviewed some Syrian people. And they were very boastful of their power, okay? And even though they are a minority in the population, they were extremely boastful of the power that they hold. So just like there's lobbying in the US, I believe, I don't know for fact or not, I believe there's lobbying in Trinidad and Tobago as well. And it doesn't matter who is in power, because Trinidad has two main political parties, the PNM and the UNC. Right now the PNM is in power, and who knows who's gonna be elected this year. I think sometime this year there should be election. But no matter who's in power, the Syrians are on top, okay? And I will say the Syrians are looked at as white people, okay, in Trini terms, Trini point of view, okay? We look at them as white, but they control the minimum wage being what it is. They control the hiring. They control most of the businesses in Trinidad and Tobago. But I feel like a big, huge part of the problem is lack of acknowledgement, lack of acknowledging that this problem exists and this problem needs to be dealt with. Because to see the vast majority of people in Trinidad that went on social media, most of them were of East Indian descent, to say, oh, F Black Lives Matter and all of this utter garbage, okay? Garbage, okay? It just made me look at, damn, they are so lost, okay? Because at the end of the day, whether you're East Indian or you're black in Trinidad and Tobago, the Syrians, the 1%, are still up on top. So it's like, why are we fighting each other, you know? So that's just my little take on it. Tobago's population is mostly African.
In Tobago, people are a little bit more subtle, right? You might mainly hear it within family members. So family members might say, oh, you know, Susie had 2 kids. There's a real light one and the other one black boy. So and then you as that child, that might be the darker skinned child, you feel a little bit less than, because you think in your mind that if you were a little bit lighter, they would appreciate you more.
And another thing is, I've heard this mostly from Trinis that live in the US. When you ask them where they from, not really where they're from, but their ethnicity, they'll say, I'm not black, I'm Trini. Like, nobody, I don't understand what's so bad in saying I'm Trinidadian and I'm black, okay? But we hear this so many times. Oh, I'm not black, I'm Trinidadian. Like, what? You're still of African descent. You're still African. But as I get older and I see how it is in the Carnival scene, it's definitely intentional. Okay, it's definitely intentional and definitely needs to be called out. Okay, we've seen it, we've experienced it. I don't know if it's ever gonna change. We can try calling out these promoters and these band leaders and things like that, calling out the government, calling out businesses, calling out banks. You go to a bank, there's a certain look that the tellers have. It's deeply rooted in Trinidad and Tobago's culture.
Even though we don't have the solution, let's get the ball rolling with the discussion. And if everyone talk about this, right, everyone should have an opinion about this. And when you see it, you do something about it. You say something, you speak up. Even if it's not happening to you directly, you can speak up on behalf of someone else that might not have a voice. So if, let's say, you are of a particular class, because there's also classism in Trinidad, right? And you go to an establishment and you see that they're ill-treating someone that might be working there, that might be of a darker complexion, right? And you say, no, that's not how you speak to her, that's unacceptable. And maybe you record that, right? And then that business establishment would have to change that. They would have to do something to change that. But if we just say, well, that's how it is, and you know, I have a job, so it doesn't really affect me because it, you know, I am already doing what I need to do in my life. I already made it. So I don't care about
that is none of my business
that comes after me, because I have already made it in my life. Right? So, and my kids will be good because you are of maybe a particular class in Trinidad. So you feel in your mind that your kids will never have to deal with some of these situations.
Another thing I want to touch on is currently right now, y'all don't even know, the boat system, because between Trinidad and Tobago, yes, it's 2 separate islands if you're not from Trinidad. It's 2 islands, and to get between the islands, you have to take a plane or you have to take the boat. The boat costs way less than the plane does. So the boat is a more affordable way of getting between the islands. And I'll say since the last 2 years, 2 to 3 years, since the PNM has been in power, I'll say it. Um, the boat system has been garbage, rubbish. Okay, and the majority of the people that use the boat system are of African descent. All right, and the way the boats cancellation, not notifying people when the ferries are not running, when the boat is not running, treating people like they're nothing. Okay, and when you ask people, oh, why you don't protest, why you don't stand up, oh, that's just the way it is, we just gotta fight it, we just gotta bite the bullet. No, some people use the boat system because you can put your cars, your vehicles, and stuff on the boat to get and just have your car with you. If you go to Tobago on vacation, or if you need to do something in Trinidad, you have your car. I think if the 1% was utilizing the boat system the way everyone else, other ethnicities, are utilizing the boat system, I guarantee it, the boat system will not be operating the way that it's operating today. And especially now with the coronavirus, having people stand up on the line, coming back day after day after day in the hot sun, standing up trying to get a boat ticket, that is ridiculous. That is garbage. So Donna, what do you think about, so what is your point of view on why the boat system is operating the way that it's operating today?
I feel like it's a classism, and what has the history of Trinidad and Tobago. Tobago is always the part that's kind of like
A stepchild.
a stepchild. So that's how it's treated. And a lot of people look down on, I would say it, look down on Tobago. Like, oh, like that's their problem. They don't, a lot of, and I'm not singling anyone out, and I'm not saying that the majority feels that way. I'm saying a lot of people feel that way because there's a stigma, like, oh, you're from Tobago. I remember one year, Keisha and I, we couldn't get plane tickets to go from Trinidad to Tobago on Ash Wednesday, so we did the boat. So we was in Tobago, living our best life, going out. Keisha, I think, rented a car. I can't remember. So we didn't listen to the radio, right? We don't know what radio station to listen to because we don't live there. We get on the port to leave Tobago, right? I'll never forget.
Mind you guys, 2 hours before the scheduled departure time. Go ahead.
They said there's no sailing today. I'm like, what do you mean no sailing? Mind you, my flight back to New York is the next morning. The next morning. So what we had to do was, and things like this is, I know this is kind of like messed up because not everyone probably would have been able to do something like this. We had to make a phone call and speak to a family member and see if that person could put in a word or kind of like give us a hookup so we could get on the plane.
But before you continue, when I tell you guys, there were so many people on that port with babies, elderly people, whole families just sitting there waiting. I didn't get any announcement. We got there was a line of people waiting. We walked up and we're like, oh, we're on this, whatever. They said, oh, the boat canceled. What? Like, no regard, no regard at all.
The people that work at some of these places, I don't know if they're underpaid and overworked. Most likely that's what it is. So they have an inner anger and not a lot of compassion. They're telling you, listen, the boat is canceled. They don't care if you jump in the water and swim to Trinidad. They don't business, right? And it's not them that made the rules. They're not the one that controlled the system, but that's just how it is. And that's my example as basically a tourist in my own country that I was born in. Because Trinidad is not like, I wouldn't say, oh, it's like one of the worst islands when it comes to something like this. Because there's other places. In some countries, that this whole colorism thing is an issue. So you might bleach out your skin, like Spice said, right? Just so you can fit in, right? So all of these things like play a part in us as a people. And I feel like if we all came together all over the world, right, and actually put our foot down and stop letting these people oppress us. Because in Trinidad, it's not like the US, right? If 40% of the population in Trinidad is black, do you know how much you could do? How much damage you can do as a people? Even if 20% of them came together and say, you know what, let's maybe boycott this establishment, maybe not try to go to some of these events, or whatever it is, come together and try your best and say, you know what, I'm not standing for this anymore. You can make moves.
My issue is I feel like a lot of people in Trinidad and Tobago don't know the amount of power that they actually do have. You know, we need to get out of the old school long time mindset of saying, oh, that's just how this is, it's gonna pass. No, fight, have some fight in you. And another thing about Trinidad and Tobago that most people don't know, the laws on the books is crazy. They're crazy outdated. Okay, everything needs a new reform. Not even to talk about the issue with remand yard and how long some people have to sit, okay, in remand yard and wait for their case to be called. It's ridiculous. It's disgusting. And the majority of the people that's affected by that whole remand yard issue and the lack of justice and the lack of a speedy trial is people of African descent.
There was a Black Power movement in Trinidad in the 70s. There was a time where people actually wanted to stand up and do and fight for things. I feel like when people protest, everyone looks down and say, oh, them kind of people, I don't want to be a part of that. I am of a particular class. I don't stoop that low. Our family is not going to go out there with the people to fight for anything.
And another issue that's a big issue in Trinidad and Tobago is the police commissioner for a picture with a dead suspect. Okay, the police department in Trinidad and Tobago, they're not the end all be all. Okay, it's not their job. If somebody, I think the person was accused of killing a police officer, but you're not the magistrate. You're just there to enforce the law. Okay, but the police kills him, and then the police commissioner decides to pose with the body. I think it should have been a suspension or some kind of discipline where that is concerned. That's not okay. So I feel like the killing should be investigated by an independent party. I'm not sure if an investigation took place, but it's like those types of actions shouldn't be okay. Yeah, we know there's a crime issue in the country. Yes, we know that. Yes, hands down, yes, and hands down, yes, we need police. Okay, but those types of behaviors makes the entire department look bad, and that's coming from the top. The police commissioner is posing with a dead body for a picture. That could never be okay. There's so much more I want to say, so much more I want to touch on. I'm sure Danna has more that she wants to touch on as well.
Thanks for having me on the channel, and I appreciate the fact that you let me have, a voice on your channel to get my point across about, colorism in Trinidad and Tobago.
Thanks for coming on the channel, Danna. And once again, these are some experiences that we personally have experienced within our childhood, within visiting Trinidad, within participating in all-inclusive events, carnival bands, carnival parties, still having family members that live in Trinidad that are in the workforce on different levels. Our take on everything, and just letting everyone know that yes, I believe change needs to take place in Trinidad and Tobago, and I do think that it's possible to happen. So guys, yes, so no disrespectful comments. Let's respect each other, respect difference of opinions. If you guys would like to see Danna and I do more of these, let me know in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you're not Trini, I hope you learned something, some insight into Trinidad and Tobago. Of course, it's not all bad. Just like anywhere in the world, it's not all bad. But let me know in the comments below what you guys think, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you guys so much for watching. All who did not know me when I done, they gon' know the name. Million people coming down, dancing to a song.